Your mind never shuts up. Even now, in this quiet moment, there is a voice underneath, running, replaying the argument you lost, rehearsing the one you have not had yet. You lie down to sleep, and it gets louder, not softer. And here is the cruel part. The harder you fight it, the stronger it grows. So the question is not how to think more. It is this: how did a bald, broke former prizefighter learn to shut the noise off completely while everyone around him drowned in it? His name was Cleanthes. Before he was a philosopher, he was a fighter, a boxer, the kind of man who took punches to the face for coins. He came to Athens with almost nothing in his pockets. 4 drachmas, the stories say. 4 coins. That was his entire life. And he had a decision to make that most of us would run from. He wanted to study under Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, but philosophy did not pay. It cost. So Cleanthes made a choice that sounds insane. By day, he sat in the school and trained his mind. By night, he carried water. He hauled buckets from wells to gardens, hour after hour, in the dark, while the city slept. They gave him a nickname for it. They called him the Well Water Man. It was not a compliment, it was mockery. And this is where it gets strange. The Athenians could not understand how a man with no visible income was surviving. A poor student, always in the school, never working a real trade. They suspected he was a thief, so they dragged him in front of the court and demanded he explain how he ate, how he lived, where the money came from. Imagine that. You are pulled before the most powerful men in the city, accused, humiliated, and told to justify your entire existence. Most people would crumble. Most people would feel that inner voice explode into panic, the racing heart, the flood of what-ifs, the desperate need to defend yourself. Cleanthes did not panic. He simply brought in 2 witnesses, the gardener he hauled water for, and a woman whose flour he ground at night for extra coin. They testified, "This man works. He works while you sleep." And the court was so stunned by his discipline that they voted to give him money, a reward. Cleanthes refused it. He refused it. Now ask yourself, where does that come from? What does a man have to build inside himself to stand accused, exhausted, mocked, and still feel nothing but stillness? Because that stillness was not luck. It was not personality. It was a method, a deliberate, repeatable, 3-step discipline he practiced every single night by the well. And when you understand it, you will never look at your own racing thoughts the same way again. But to understand it, we have to go back to the buckets, because carrying water in the dark taught Cleanthes something that the clever, quick-minded students in the daylight never learned. They were fast. He was slow. They mocked him for that too. They called him an ass, a donkey, because he was plodding and heavy and took forever to grasp an idea. And Cleanthes agreed with them. Yes, he said, I am an ass, but I am the only one strong enough to carry the load of Zeno. Sit with that. The quick minds burned bright and faded. The slow mind endured. And endurance, it turns out, is the entire secret, because the noise in your head is not defeated in a flash of insight. It is defeated the way you carry water, one bucket, then the next, then the next. Here is what almost no one realizes about your inner chaos. The thoughts themselves are not the problem. Thoughts arrive on their own. A memory, a fear, a sting of shame. These appear uninvited, like birds landing on a wire. You do not choose them. The Stoics knew this. They had a word for that first involuntary flash. They called it the first movement, the jolt, the gut reaction you cannot stop. And if you cannot stop it, you might think you are doomed to suffer it. You are not. And this is the turning point, because Cleanthes and his teacher discovered a gap, a tiny sacred space between the thought that arrives and the power you give it. A bird can land on the wire. That is not up to you. But whether it builds a nest, whether it stays, multiplies, and takes over the whole line, that is entirely up to you. The Stoics called this power assent, the act of saying yes to a thought, of agreeing with it, of letting it become true. Every spiral you have ever fallen into started with a single yes. Think about the last time your mind went to war with itself. Maybe you sent a message and the reply did not come. A thought landed, they are ignoring me. That was the bird. Harmless on its own. But then you said yes. You agreed, and the yes summoned another thought. They never liked me. Yes. And another. I always ruin things. Yes. Within 90 seconds, you had built an entire prison out of a delayed text message, not because the first thought was powerful, because you kept signing off on the next one. Cleanthes learned to stop signing, and here is how he did it. The 3 steps he practiced in the dark that modern psychology is only now, 2,300 years later, beginning to prove. Step 1. Notice the impression. When a thought arrives, you catch it in the act. You do not swat it away, and you do not chase it. You simply see it and name it. There it is. A thought of fear, a thought of anger. Cleanthes, hauling his buckets, would catch the thought, "This is beneath me," the moment it appeared, and he would hold it up to the light instead of swallowing it whole. Modern therapists call this exact move cognitive diffusion, creating distance between you and your thought, so you stop being the storm and start being the sky the storm passes through. They charge a great deal of money for it now. He did it for free beside a well. Step 2. Withhold your assent. This is the heart of the entire method, and it is the hardest. You look at the thought and you refuse to agree with it automatically. You say, "Wait, this is an impression. It is not yet a fact. The thought they are ignoring me is not reality. It is a guess wearing the costume of truth." And you are allowed to not sign the paper. You are allowed to leave the bird on the wire and let it fly off on its own, which, if you do not feed it, it always does. Every thought you refuse to feed dies of starvation. This is the pause the fighter learned that the clever students never did. They reacted instantly. He waited. He let the load settle before he lifted it. Step 3. Give your assent only to what is true and within your power. After the pause, you ask one question. Is this up to me? The reply did not come. Is that up to me? No, let it go. But how I carry this hour, whether I stay steady, whether I do my work in the dark without bitterness, that is up to me. Say yes to that. Pour your entire strength into that. Cleanthes could not control that Athens called him a thief. He could control that he showed up night after night and carried the water. So that is where he placed his yes. And it made him unbreakable. Notice, refuse, then choose. That was the code. And here is the part that should stop you cold. Neuroscience now shows that simply naming an emotion, putting it into words, measurably calms the fear center of your brain. The scan lights up, then quiets, the moment you label what you feel. Cleanthes had no scanner. He had a bucket, a well, and a discipline he trusted more than his own panic. He was running the experiment on himself, every night, in the dark, and getting the result 23 centuries before we could measure it. So, let me hand this to you. Something you can use tonight before you sleep, when the voice gets loud, when the next storm of thought hits you, the replay, the dread, the spiral. Do not fight it. Fighting is signing. Instead, do the 3 steps. Say silently, there is a thought. Name it. A thought of fear, a thought of shame. That is step 1, and it alone will loosen its grip. Then pause. Do not agree. Do not argue. Just hold it at arm's length and remind yourself, this is an impression, not a verdict. That is step 2. And in that pause, the bird has no nest to build. Then ask the only question that matters. Is this in my power? If it is not, release it, the way Cleanthes released the court's reward. If it is, pour everything into it. That is step 3. That is where your peace has been hiding the whole time. Not in silencing every thought, but in refusing to sign the ones that would enslave you. The former boxer never won by throwing more punches. He won by learning what not to answer. Your mind will never fully go quiet. That was never the goal. The goal is to stop being dragged by every thought that lands, to become the still man in the loud city, carrying your water in the dark, unbothered, unbroken, free. The chaos is not your enemy. Your unchecked yes is. And, starting tonight, that yes belongs to you again. Cleanthes carried water until the day he became the head of the entire school. The slow one outlasted them all. So will you, if you keep showing up, one bucket at a time. If this gave you something worth caring, stay a while, subscribe, and let the next lesson find you when you need it most.